The massive cloud data centers we've been relying on for the last few years are hitting a hard physical wall. Literally, they're running out of electricity, they don't have the infrastructure to process trillion parameter models, and they can't dissipate the heat these massive models generate. Because of that, intelligence is moving off the remote servers and straight onto your personal hardware. And here's the part nobody wants to talk about. This shift is going to make the screen-based software we use today completely redundant by 2027. Here's why. Silicon brain. Every major consumer tech company wants you to believe the future of computing is your devices acting as thin clients, constantly streaming data back to a massive data center. That narrative is just a defensive smokescreen to hide a massive hardware crisis. The actual bottleneck for personal AI isn't how smart the algorithms are. It's the physical cost of moving all that data. When you try to run a continuous, context-aware digital assistant on a standard phone chip, the processor pulls so much power that a wearable battery dies in an hour, and the device gets too hot to actually wear. This thermal wall is forcing hardware engineers to quietly ditch standard processor designs for all-day wearables. They're shifting toward neuromorphic silicon, basically hardware that mimics the human brain and only uses power when it actually needs to. Specialized chip designers like Inatera and Semron are already proving out architectures that run neural networks under a strict sub-1 milliwatt power limit. To put that in perspective, that's a fraction of the power your phone burns just maintaining a cellular signal in your pocket. Traditional chips process data in this relentless, synchronized march of binary code, keeping every single gate active no matter what. Neuromorphic silicon mimics biology. Individual artificial neurons stay completely dormant until a specific sensory threshold is met. This structural efficiency means a pair of lightweight smart glasses can monitor cameras, mics, and spatial sensors continuously without generating any noticeable heat or needing a bulky frame. By 2027, this silicon architecture will establish complete edge sovereignty. Your wearables won't bundle up your personal audio and video, send it to a multi-acre server farm across the country, and wait for a reply. The actual computation happens locally, instantly, and completely offline. Your device will catalog your environment, recognize faces, translate text, and map your day without sending a single byte of data over the internet. The multi-agent collapse. While the underlying hardware shrinks onto local silicon, the software layer is going through an equally chaotic restructuring. The tech industry is currently obsessed with the idea of autonomous AI swarms, the pitch that you can link 50 distinct digital specialists together in a shared chat, hand them an enterprise goal, and watch them build a complex app or marketing campaign while you go grab a coffee. On a pitch deck, that looks like the biggest cheat code in the world. In a live production environment, it's an engineering nightmare. Recent data from multi-agent deployments reveals a super consistent failure mode. Unconstrained digital networks amplify structural errors exponentially. When you connect more than a few independent AI agents together without a rigid hierarchy, they don't collaborate effectively. They build a hall of mirrors. An original hallucination from a creative agent gets ingested as a hard fact by a technical agent, compounding the flaw until the entire enterprise structure collapses under its own automated weight. Performance data shows that system reliability drops by a factor of 17 the second and unmanaged network scales past just a handful of nodes. By 2027, the industry will ditch the illusion of chaotic infinite swarms and adopt a highly disciplined 4-agent hierarchical architecture. This is the 4-agent trap. To get predictable execution, software platforms will enforce a strict vertical chain of command. The system relies on a single executive director agent that manages user inputs, an analytical architect that maps out the logical constraints, a production specialist tasked exclusively with generating the assets, and an entirely isolated adversarial reviewer whose sole job is to find structural flaws and reject the other three's work. The sensory supply chain. But here's where this gets crazy. All this local processing power needs data to actually work, and the way our devices see the world is completely changing. Right now, the internet runs on structured text and highly compressed media files optimized for human eyes. By 2027, the vast majority of data moving through personal computing architectures will be machine-to-machine telemetry that humans will never actually see or read. This transition is rewriting the specs for consumer hardware components. Image sensor manufacturers are shifting shifting production away from standard high megapixel sensors designed for pretty photography, moving instead toward event-based sensors. Instead of recording 30 frames a second like a normal camera, these things only register data when something actually moves. They only capture changes in light intensity at the individual pixel level. If nothing moves in your peripheral vision, those pixels transmit zero data. This change in the sensory pipeline completely alters how software processes your world. A standard video stream requires massive computational overhead just to parse the background noise of a room. An event-based sensor strips away the background instantly, leaving a clean, low-bandwidth stream of motion vectors that local neuromorphic chips can interpret using minimal energy. Large behavior models and the $420,000 Iron Curtain. This convergence of local intelligence and specialized sensory data gets way more consequential when that infrastructure takes on a physical form. For decades, robotics and AI progressed along completely separate tracks. Industrial engineers built incredibly articulate mechanical bodies that operated blindly inside rigid factory cages, while computer scientists developed deep learning models that remained completely abstract behind a glass monitor. In 2027, these two tracks will collide permanently through the deployment of large behavior models, or LBMs. Instead of requiring human engineers to write millions of lines of explicit spatial code telling a machine exactly how many millimeters to move a joint to grab an irregular object, LBMs allow hardware to learn physical laws through direct observation. By ingesting millions of hours of operational video and practicing tasks within hyper-accelerated digital physics simulations, these systems develop an intuitive grasp of mass, inertia, surface friction, and structural consistency. They learn to navigate human environments exactly like a biological organism does, through visual imitation and constant trial and error. But here's the part nobody tells you about these robots. The real story isn't the tech, it's the price tag. There is a massive financial wall splitting this market in two. On one side of the divide sits ultra-premium, high-fidelity humanoid hardware like the electric iteration of the Boston Dynamics Atlas. Featuring an advanced internal hydraulic and electric setup with 56 degrees of freedom, this tier of machinery carries an estimated price tag of around $420,000 per unit. This grade of hardware is effectively locked behind institutional walls, reserved exclusively for elite automotive manufacturing contracts and proprietary corporate research labs. On the other side of that wall, logistics infrastructure developers like Agility Robotics are aggressively driving bipedal hardware economics down toward the sub $50,000 mark. These machines aren't engineered to perform complex maneuvers or display human-like elegance. They're built with utilitarian reverse-cambered legs designed to transport plastic bins across a fulfillment center floor for less than the hourly cost of human labor. The boundary between digital automation and physical reality is dissolving entirely, and the industrial landscape will look completely unrecognizable because of it. Sovereign intelligence. As this intelligence integrates into our personal wearables and handles our industrial labor, a fundamental conflict emerges over who actually owns the underlying data layer. Right now, a tiny handful of trillion-dollar corporations control the gatekeeping mechanisms of machine intelligence. They dictate what an AI model is permitted to say, what cultural biases its safety filters enforce, how much it costs to access their APIs, and when to abruptly deprecate a service that an independent business relies on for daily operations. This represents centralized authority on an unprecedented historical scale, but a structural counter-revolution is mounting far faster than the corporate executive suites realize. By 2027, the market will see the full maturation of decentralized, incentive-driven machine intelligence protocols. The functional blueprint for this architecture is the expansion of networks like Bitensor, which has scaled its internal network to over 129 specialized subnets. This isn't a speculative play or a digital asset bubble. It's a hyper-competitive global marketplace for raw computational power and algorithmic accuracy. Instead of depending on a centralized corporate cloud provider, decentralized networks use global tokenomics to incentivize data center operators and miners to dedicate raw GPU power toward training and running massive open-weight models. If a specific miner provides a faster, more contextually accurate response to a network query than its competitors, the protocol automatically rewards them. If their model hallucinates, lags, or returns corrupted data, it gets financially penalized and starved of network bandwidth. The true cost of local power. The real consequence of this shift toward local chips and decentralized networks is a total restructuring of what value actually means in a technology market. For the last 10 years, the tech economy valued scale above all else. Who had the largest user base, the biggest data center, and the highest concentration of venture capital? In 2027, as intelligence goes native on the edge, the premium shifts entirely from computational scale to energy efficiency and data isolation. And when every device can think for itself locally, the competitive advantage of massive centralized software suites evaporates. A small business or an individual creator no longer needs to pay a recurring subscription fee to a tech monopoly just to access basic intelligence tools. The tools live inside the hardware they already own. This shifts the macroeconomic balance away from software as a service providers and right back onto specialized hardware manufacturers and regional energy providers. This reality creates a sharp divide in consumer electronics. Devices won't be judged by their raw storage capacity or screen resolution anymore, but by their thermal dissipation efficiency and their ability to run local models without throttling. A premium hardware product in 2027 is one that can operate completely detached from the grid for 48 hours while executing billions of local context updates. The software has become a commodity. The physical infrastructure required to keep that software cool and sovereign is where the true wealth is accumulating. Living in the synthesizer era. All of these macro forces, the miniaturization of silicon architectures, the enforcement of strict multi-agent hierarchies, the physical reality of embodied motion, and the rise of decentralized compute protocols are converging on a final disruption: next-generation neural video synthesizers. The early deeply flawed eras of generative video characterized by inconsistent geometry and melting human faces are wrapping up. By 2027, generative video models will achieve absolute temporal and physical consistency. They'll parse the exact interaction of directional light, shadow depth, fluid dynamics, and human skeletal anatomy over sustained runtimes. The true systemic shift, however, is the arrival of complete text-to-movie pipelines. You won't use these tools merely to generate a brief visual sequence. You'll upload a comprehensive 100-page dramatic script, and the engine will compile a full-length, cinematically coherent film featuring studio-grade audio engineering, deliberate camera movements, and consistent casting across every scene, turning pretty much anyone with an internet connection into a bona fide Hollywood director. This technological leap fundamentally dismantles the historical capital requirements associated with high-end visual storytelling. The power to produce a cinematic narrative is moving directly out of corporate studio boardrooms and into the minds of individual thinkers. It completely redefines what it means to be a media creator in the late 2020s. We're done with the era of humans doing the grunt work. We're entering the era of human direction. You don't get paid to do the repetitive stuff anymore, and you definitely don't get paid to manage bureaucracy. The future belongs to the directors, the people who know how to run the machines instead of getting buried by them. This is an entirely new architecture for human capability, and the pieces are already locked into place.